Hi, I'm Tim Schools, President and CEO of Capstar Bank. Capstar Bank is excited to host this year's event, and I congratulate all honorees. It is through leadership such as yours that Nashville has so many wonderful companies and continues to thrive and increase its competitiveness nationally as a place to live and do business. Over the past 13 years, Capstar has been fortunate to help form and grow a number of organizations across our community. It's exciting to see your success, and we appreciate all that you do.
Hello and welcome to In Charge Talks, our series of conversations with area leaders on management and strategy in the age of COVID. I'm Geert De Lombaerde, editor of The Post, and I am very pleased to be joined by Woodward, President and CEO of Kirkland and our 2021 CEO of the Year. Woody, pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining us here.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being here, and I love the conversation.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Let's go back a couple of years. A lot of the conversation that we're talking about is framed by COVID one way or another. Your journey at Kirkland started in the fall of 2018. And you said you came aboard with a bit of a mandate to change, a bit of a mandate to push the organization in
That's right.
Kind of walk us through maybe the beginning of that, the conversations with the board, and your priorities early on before our world got turned upside down.
Good question, and of course I've lived that recently, so I have a good answer. So I came in the October of 2018, and the whole goal was to give Kirkland's a new perspective on its merchandise and really look at the company as, what do we need to do to really make this survive the next 52 years? Fortunately, we've had a 52-year history, and we're really lucky that we have a solid foundation with solid financials, but we needed to become more relevant. And so they hired me from more of a merchant role in the past. And so my first year or so, maybe 6 months to a year, it was all about learning the organization first and really digging in and finding out what the customers were looking for. Where could Kirkland's fit in their world of specialty retailing? And so we took a lot of time. We asked customers, we asked the employees, and I call that first 6 months kind of a learn. It was just no huge decisions yet, but it's just a learning curve. And then once we really felt like we knew where we wanted to go, we started writing down our strategies. And our strategies were, very clear. It was, to change the merchandise, to reduce the infrastructure cost, to make the company more efficient, to continue being conservative fiscally with having no debt, which has always been, something that Kirkland's was really proud of, and actually re-motivate the people. So it was funny, in those early days, I had everybody in my leadership team read a book called Mindset. And it was about people needing to change their mindset. And I think at Kirkland's, we were a little bit stuck in a mindset of how we got here, but not where we needed to go. So I wanted to make sure that we started with the foundation of that mindset book.
Yeah. And that part's not always easy, right? I mean, people like the idea of change until you tell them that they need to change, right? That the way they go about their day needs to change.
Well,
talk about maybe some of the conversations early on.
You bring up such a good point, because I felt a little bit like there were maybe some gatekeepers in the organization, and it was a really sweet organization with a great culture, but they kind of liked life as it was. And here's the new guy coming in with some ideas for merchandise changes, upgrades, and the whole goal was to always be the value player in a specialty market. The problem is that the specialty market's really good. So when you start comparing yourselves with a Resto and a Crate and Barrel and a Williams-Sonoma groups with the Pottery Barns and the West Elms, that's stiff competition. You better be good. So we knew this was going to take a multiple year transition. And the transition was always about increasing the design and quality of the merchandise while we kept our value proposition, and moved away from some of the big box people that we were compared with by just being more curated, more design oriented. And so I think that we've had a fairly good success at that.
Yeah. So you start that journey, you start making some changes, and then the COVID bomb drops.
Yeah.
And what are the conversations that you remember having early on as the pandemic hit and plans needed to either be changed, plans needed to be halted, investments needed to be tweaked. How did Kirkland's kind of go through those first few weeks?
Well, we could kind of feel it happening before before we had to close our stores. So early, about this exact time last year, we were already feeling the effects of the conversations changing, people wanting to, shop less. They did want to be exposed. And so we knew there was trouble in the air. But it wasn't until the mandate came through that we had to close, literally on a specific date, for the next 8 weeks, that we kind of had one of those moments where we looked around the room and said, oh, okay, what do we do next? Fortunately, we had just been through this strategy of coming up with what will we do over the next 3 or 4 years to make Kirkland's relevant again and make Kirkland's the best it can possibly be. So the roadmap was there. So what we decided to do is, and I do have to pause for just a minute and say, while the COVID has been really good for us as a company, it's so hard on the world. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that so many people lost their lives, and it was just such a really, hardship on so many people losing their jobs. And so I don't want to take it lightly that it was good for us and we didn't care about the other side. We were experiencing the pain from the other side too. But I remember sitting in the boardroom and us having a conversation, something like this. Okay, what do we do next? Our stores are closed for the first time in 52 years. Every day now for the next, we didn't know if it was 8 weeks, if it was going to be 12 weeks or even longer. And we said, well, maybe we should take this as an opportunity to accelerate all the changes. And we really kind of, said, maybe this is our time. Maybe this is where nobody's watching. Everybody's concentrating on the pandemic. Let's make changes that would have taken 2 or 3 years, and let's do them right now. So we literally went into, I want to say, almost army battle mode. It was so invigorating, and I think the team was enjoying it, and I was enjoying it, and it helped us focus on something while we were worried about the stores being closed.
Right. Was there a reluctance as well as an enthusiasm? Because at the same time that you're making these decisions and having those conversations, Pier 1, one of the biggest names in your industry, is disappearing.
Yeah, they were having a hard time, and we had made the determination a couple years ago that we should be doing our research on them because they were good. I mean, they have huge market awareness, and they were a beloved brand that just lost its way. And so we felt like we needed to see what categories that they had that maybe we didn't have that we could do a better job at. So that was part of the whole roadmap for the future. But I would say that there was some reluctance, but sometimes when you're faced with danger or drama, you just go into action mode. And my team, I cannot emphasize how great they were about just getting into action mode and saying, we can do this, but it's going to take some guts. We had to make serious, not little cutbacks, but serious cutbacks. We had that then to, out of the other side of our mouth, we had to say, we've got these employees at Kirkland's that have worked for us for 15, 20, 25 years. I can't stop paying them. And that was a controversial move where we said, we're going to pay our store managers and our assistant store managers. They did take a little bit of a shave, I think down to 80%, but it was really the right thing to do. It ultimately was a great thing to do. But during that time, we didn't know.
Yeah. Well, and your CFO's in the corner.
CFO's in the corner, sure, that is hard. And should we, what's our liquidity going to look like if we're closed for the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks? And so we did all these different scenarios about where we would bottom out with liquidity. And we decided that we would draw on our line of credit, which we didn't ever use, which I was really proud of, but we had it there, and it did give us that little sense of confidence that if things got even tougher, that we'd be prepared for that. So smart moves, both in the financial realm. Supply chain made great strides. Our store group was really thrilled that we were embracing the stores while we were embracing the e-com. And then about 2 weeks in, we had this moment where we said, you know what? We need to have contactless pickup at the store. We had already instituted the year before BOPUS, which was buy online, pick up in store, but it wasn't contactless. And now our stores are closed. What are we going to do? So in 2 weeks, we rolled out this whole contactless curbside pickup with signage, and got the store managers back into the store. And that was why it was smart to pay them during this whole time period. And it just almost went off without a hitch. The customers loved it. So our business wasn't as horrible as it could have been, because we had both the online business and then they could buy online and pick up in store. But what we do is we take it out to the curb, and we had a little sign set up, and people were trying new things. They'd roll down their window and we'd put the bag in the car, and nobody touched and nobody breathed on each other. And it was really kind of a sweet way to interact with our customers during a period where they wanted some interaction and we wanted some interaction. Yeah. So I'm really proud of that we rolled that out so quickly.
A little win early in the process, right?
You do.
We're
and
acknowledging that things are going to be tough and difficult, and we're stretching as an organization.
Yeah.
And look, we've got this under our belt.
Your point is really good about acknowledging that it was going to be tough. I think that we didn't back away from this. We said, this is going to be a hard year. This is unprecedented. What are we going to do? And we can only be in charge of our own destiny and our own in how we're going to interpret the cards we've been dealt with. And so I continue to be amazed at people's resilience and their positive attitudes faced with difficult decisions. And there were a couple days we had to bring out and have a happy hour at 4:00 in the boardroom because it was stressful. Yeah. And we were in the thick of it. So
I think a lot of people are nodding their heads right
yes,
now.
yeah.
Been there. Yeah. Well, as CEO during this time, because you're juggling a lot of different things and information coming at you crazy, what's easy for you you recall during that time, and what was maybe difficult for you as the CEO to adjust to?
I think easy was the fact that we were doing it for the right reason. We wanted Kirkland's to be not only a survivor but a thriver, and so we had a roadmap that we laid out that we thought would really work for us. So that was energizing. It was also energizing to see the team and the people in our stores and everybody so passionate about our mission. The mission to service our customers and really make people happy. And one of the things, we did some research a couple years ago, and the tagline that we have, "Bring Happiness Home," was actually from our customers. Our customers told us, we loved coming to Kirkland's because it makes us happy. We get to buy a wreath or a candle or something joyful for my home. And so we were really lucky with that. The stressful parts, I think navigating as a new CEO with a board, and with some controversial decisions about continuing to pay, cutting back $65 million worth of orders that were already on order. We've never canceled orders, but we had to. We weren't going to be open for 6 to 8 weeks. So that was hard on our vendors, and we went to every single vendor and said how, we didn't want this to happen either, but we need your help. And I tell you, our vendors loved us. It was such a great part of our relationship over 50 years with our vendors. They just rallied. They gave us better pricing. They did anything they could to help us. And it really made us feel good. So it's great.
Because they were in the same boat.
They were
realizing, look, this isn't easy for anybody.
Yeah.
So if we can pitch in our part, we'll come out of it together.
Mm-hmm. The other part that was a real surprise to me, maybe wasn't a surprise to some people, but to me, we have been navigating a transition in real estate for years, and we had made the right decision maybe 10 or 15 years ago to move out of malls. So we were almost predominantly out of malls. But the strip centers were really having a challenging time too, because some of our big competitors right next door to us were going out of business, and suddenly the center looked a little lean. And so I was really impressed with how aggressive we were and how aggressive the landlords treated us. I mean, in a good way. I mean, they came back and they said, "Yeah, of course we'll help. We want you in our centers. We believe that you're a great tenant. You've always been a good tenant. You've always, paid your bills exactly on time and everything." And so that, which could have ended up being a big fight, and maybe there were a few fights. I'm not going to paint the picture. It was not easy with everyone, but we were able to do something in 6 months that would have taken us years if we'd just let the leases expire. We had some unproductive stores, and we said, you know what, after COVID, we're not reopening the stores. We're just gonna open the stores that we wanna have in the future. And it was a really controversial decision that had a lot of legs to it. And I have to give our CFO, Nicole Strain, such a huge compliment, because she navigated, and we hired a consultant to help us that has like one of those kind of really tough consultant groups. Anyway, so it all worked out.
Bad cop.
Yeah, good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. Because those aren't fun conversations to have.
They're not fun.
With anybody. Yeah.
And especially when you have to have 423 of them.
Good point. Yeah. You mentioned the conversations with the board.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in normal times, you'd be having those as well.
Yes.
In terms of the dynamic and the stresses on those relationships, positive and negative stresses,
Yeah.
How do you think things have changed in a year?
Well, one, I think that our board thinks that we've done a good job, and I think that they've done a good job. They've been incredibly supportive. You know, sometimes they have to ask the tough questions about, well, why are you doing that? But I would give them high marks for being supportive of our company, of me specifically, knowing that, you know, here I take over a new job and 2 years in, the stores are all closed, and I'm going, oh God, could it get any worse? And then suddenly some other thing would happen, and I go, yeah, I can. But I would say that my relationship with the board vastly improved during that time, because I thought you sometimes don't know how people are going to react until they're pressed into a corner. And our board, when pressed into a corner, came out supporting. And when I was pressed into a corner, I came out supporting them. So I think that for anything, we've solidified our relationship.
Yeah. When you look at obviously board members are by nature advisors, sounding boards for you. Have you turned to different people outside of the organization in the past year to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What are you seeing? Can you help me figure this out? Have you dealt with a situation like this? Is there somebody that comes to mind?
Yeah, first of all, I'm a voracious reader, and I love to read the comments from my peer group about how they're handling situations within their own business. And so, you know, you hear a CEO talking on CNBC or whatever the show they're on, and you just kind of like, well, that's smart. And so I'm a nugget accumulator. I will take a nugget from this comment and a nugget from this and something I read over here, and I just somehow put it in my brain. And, you know, somebody early in my career said, always hire people that are smarter than you, that want to work hard and want to succeed. And then your job is just easy. So we have a team that is at Kirkland's that is smarter than me, works harder than me, and really wants the success. And my job is then easy. Because all I have to do, don't tell them, because they'll want a big raise. But although we were able to, you know, reward people this year for a job well done.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. Well, and you talk about job well done. You previewed your earnings not that long ago for the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Your sales, you're going to be down a little bit year over year, but with 59 fewer stores than you had a year ago.
59 fewer stores and closed for 8 weeks.
Closed for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So Wall Street and investors will then say, "Hey, good job. Now what?"
I'm feeling the pressure.
Already.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Because we want to be, the one thing that Wall Street and investors and shareholders love is consistency.
Right.
And so our whole goal is to say we can't just have a great year. We have to have a great 2 years, and then a great 3 years, and a great 5 years, because they really look at you for your consistency. We couldn't have those years had we not made some of the changes that we made this year.
Yeah.
One, with our infrastructure costs, two, with our real estate decisions that we made, and three, with the evolving merchandise decision. And that one is the one that is going to take a little longer, because I think I had talked at an earlier time about this conversation with our customers. And I didn't want to alienate customers thinking that because I wanted us to upgrade our merchandise and I wanted us to upgrade our design, you know, you got to do it at a pace that they go, oh, I get it. Yeah, I'm paying the same price for that, but now it's a better quality and that you've improved the design, and maybe it's just a tweak. But we're bringing our customers along, and I think that they're giving us permission to move a little faster right now, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. I was having a conversation the other day with a venture capital investor in early stage, and she mentioned that we've all gotten comfortable being uncomfortable now.
Mhm.
And so that the point you just made about they're okay with us going a little faster, I think
Yeah.
across the economy,
Yeah.
you're going to see that maybe here for the next 2, 3, 4 years.
I hope so. I mean, because we all knew that we were maybe over-retailed, over-stored, over...
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of a shakeout. I hated to see anybody go, belly up. But, the survival of the fittest, and, I feel pretty good about our chances going forward. But we have to perform. And performing means that you have to... Every customer walks into your store every day and makes a decision. Do they like it better than they saw the last time? Or is it worse than the last time?
Yeah.
And so we're constantly on, alert.
Yeah. And retail even more so perhaps
Yes.
because it's so much word of mouth.
So much word of mouth.
As opposed to an accounting service. You may not go home and rave to your neighbor about your accounting service, but if you bring home a nice piece of furniture, you're going to go show it.
Well, and you bring up a good point about you can market your way to success, and some retailers have done that in the past, but it's so expensive to market now that your best marketing tool is your customer base. Them going back to their friends and family and telling people, and then you can just add on to that. And so marketing is another area that's had to really look deep into its soul and say, what do we do next? And the customer wants to be interacted with so digitally at this point versus, big catalogs and flyers and newspaper ads that used to work for us in the past.
Yeah. Last big topic question. E-commerce was a big part of what you were investing in before COVID came.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it ramped up massively as COVID hit. Is that change here to stay in terms of more people being more comfortable buying big items such as furniture where they may not have before? You're seeing it in the automotive world to some extent as well. Do you see that change being a permanent one?
I see it being permanent and accelerating. I think that we are at a stage where a lot of people were still in the camp of I'd like to shop in the store and I will occasionally buy online. And now it's almost shifting to, I like to buy online, but I want to visit the store occasionally to see what the hoopla is. And so I tell our store teams and our merchant teams, our stores should be the maximum expression of what Kirkland's brand is. And online you can have things that are kind of on the edges, and then customers are choosing to say, I like to shop on the edges. I like what you have in the store, but I want something bigger, or I want something that does a little bit of a different function. And so on the e-com business, I do have to give credit to decisions that were made maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago that said, let's build this part of our equation. Eventually we know we want to be an omni-channel retailer. And probably that could have happened over 6, 7, 8 years. It got accelerated into 2 or 3 years. And now we're seeing that there's a potential in the very near future that we could be 50% e-commerce, 50% stores. They're both necessary. Yeah. They reinforce each other, and they really help each other as long as you can figure out how to use your stores to the most efficient maximum expression and how your e-com matches that store experience. We got a long way to go. We need to improve a lot on some of the bells and whistles that we have on our e-com that would allow people to put it in the room and design around it. And some of the fun things that we've had to kind of forego this year just to make sure that our site was, as efficient and stable as possible.
Yeah. That's a juggling act that you're going to have to lead in terms of working with the store managers and the e-commerce side to say, no, you guys aren't competing. You guys are on the same page.
Yeah, and one of the things we're set up in America as comp store sales, same store sales and everything. I don't know if the future is just about driving revenue and using both your areas. Why should it matter if your e-com is running 40% up but your stores are flat? Why do you get penalized for that? Yeah. Maybe that's a good thing. I mean, let's let the customer choose. To me, if we always come back to the customer gets to pick. They get to pick our merchandise because we can put it in there, but unless they vote for it and buy it, it's, so they pick our merchandise, they pick how they want to shop, and our job is to be giving them an assortment that's interesting and also listening to what they want and giving them what they want.
Yeah. Excellent. Woody, thanks very much for the conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Team, and onward and upward.
Always an adventure.
Exactly. Thanks again.
Thank you.
For more In Charge talks, as well as much more from our spring quarterly magazine, including the list of 500 area leaders from 19 different industries, go to NashvillePost.com, click on the magazine tab, and enjoy. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.